Hello, everybody. Good afternoon if you're on the Eastern time zone. Good morning if you're on the West Coast. And yeah, we are on our fourth day of the virtual conference, our spring 2021. I'm Rachel Alton, the online community manager for the Gypsy Nurse. We're here with Steve Curtin, the CEO of the Gypsy Nurse. Hello, Steve.
Hey again, Rachel. Good afternoon. I guess for us it's good afternoon. I'm on the
Yeah.
East Coast as well, but good afternoon. Great to see you. And I'm
Yeah.
really excited for this session. We had a wonderful session this morning with the folks from Travel Nurse Across America about finding the best agency and working with the best recruiters. And this is going to be a little bit different. There's a little bit of a shift more towards travel nursing in general and the minimalist lifestyle, which I'm very interested in hearing more about.
Yes, definitely. Well, definitely, this kind of goes off of last night. We had someone living in a fifth wheel, and so she talked about, downsizing and, moving everything out of her townhouse. This one is going to get a little bit smaller. So, Steve, I know you have some few things to say to the community if you want to take a moment to talk to them.
I do. I do. Thank you, Rachel. As CEO of the Gypsy Nurse, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And I want to thank our travel nurse community for all that you do, particularly during this COVID pandemic. The Gypsy Nurse's mission is to support travel nurses, and we hope you find this session and the others we have planned this week to be informative and helpful in your travel nursing journey. Please remember to visit thegypsynurse.com spring virtual conference agenda under the events tab on our website for a full list of all of our virtual events this week. Please bookmark thegypsynurse.com as your source for travel nursing resources, including over 150,000 jobs from over 65 top agencies, housing options, and great content from experts that we publish daily to help you on your travel nursing journey. As a reminder, all of these sessions will be recorded and they'll be available on demand on our website after each session and viewable on our 2021 virtual events page. So if you've joined late or you missed something you want to share with your friends, all of our conference sessions are available on demand on that events page. The Gypsy Nurse is the #1 destination for travel nurses, and we want to thank all of our travel nursing community for their support of the Gypsy Nurse. I would also like to thank Megan and Ty for donating their time today to speak about minimalist living for travel nurses. And I'd like to thank our sponsor, Nurses 24/7, and Kevin Grimes for their support of all of today's sessions. So thanks, and back to you, Rachel.
Yeah, definitely. And we have some giveaways going on this week. I'm going to show you a few ways to win. So the first way, which spoiler alert, these are our speakers. They're on our homepage. So a little sneak peek on who they are. Clearly love to have adventure. But the first way to enter to win the week-long $100 Amazon gift card is by going here and joining and logging in into thegypsynurse.com. The second way is coming to that events tab Steve was telling you about. We just click on this tab and you can see all of our previous sessions. You just click on the link on whichever one you want to watch. We have some of our upcoming sessions this evening. We have another Gypsy Nurse mentor, Paula Ruth, going out talking about leaving the bedside. We're going to talk about dogs and coffee tomorrow, which are my two favorite subjects. So I cannot wait. Perfect for a Friday. And then you can also register on for the conference. So you can win the Amazon gift card by either registering for the gypsynurse.com or for the conference. So we will announce that early next week once we compile all of the results. We also have a giveaway session for today's all the sessions today. So if you comment, interact, ask questions, you're going to be entered to win another $100 Amazon gift card. So tons and tons of ways to win.
Lots of giveaways. And Rachel,
Yeah.
again, it continues to upset me. You and I, as employees of the Gypsy Nurse, are not eligible to win any of these great prizes or gifts. So
I wish.
it's a little frustrating, but that's okay.
I would love it. So be sure to comment, ask questions, register so you can win those things. Again, I'd like to thank Nurses 24/7 for being a sponsor, and I'd like to bring on Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Thank you so much for.
Hey,
Good
Kevin.
afternoon, guys. How's everything going?
Great. We're having fun.
Good. It is a very chilly day here in northern New Jersey, so our jackets are out, our beanies are out, and we're just super excited to be sponsoring today and to be joining you guys. would love to obviously thank Steve and Rachel for letting us be a part of this. We are super excited to sponsor the day. It was really cool. Our membership with the Gypsy Nurse started a couple weeks ago, actually maybe a couple months ago when the pandemic kind of first hit home for us. So it would really be remiss for me not to thank all of our frontline workers and all of our nurses who are part of this interactive community. Well, one of the main reasons we wanted to join the Gypsy Nurse is because it is such an interactive community, and we love hearing all the stories that our travel nurses have. But again, thank you so much to our frontline workers. The way you've stepped up during this pandemic, there could not be enough thank yous. And again, we're super excited. Looking forward to telling you a lot of unique features about Nurses 24/7 at the end of this. And I'm pretty pumped up to hear this story. I got a little bit of an intel this morning from Rachel about this story, and it's always good to get a feel-good story. So I'm excited to hear what Meg and Ty have to say, and just looking forward to being part of today's virtual conference.
Oh, thank you. Well said, too.
Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate Nurses 24/7 sponsorship, and we appreciate your support of this event. And we're excited to have you on board. We couldn't do it without sponsors like you, so we really appreciate it. And yes, I'm excited about this, about today's discussion as well. Megan and Ty have got great experience, and they've been with us for a while as mentors and supporters of the site. So it should be a great session. So thank you, Kevin. We appreciate it, and we will have you join us towards the end of the session.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you. All
right. So sometimes you can find them living in a van down by the river, right? If you guys remember that, you know.
Remember that one.
That's right. They live in a van that they built themselves. So the minimalistic lifestyle is key when living in a van, for sure. They are a travel nurse couple who work on the PCU units. In the past 2 years, they've worked in five different states, built their van, and eloped in the desert while on assignment in Arizona, which the pictures were amazing. You'll have to check them out. You can find their Gypsy Nurse adventures and all of their van life on Instagram at @wanderers. So we'll put that in the comments as well. So I didn't mean to stumble over that, but we will go ahead and bring them on so they can start talking about the minimalistic lifestyle. Hi, guys.
Hey, hi. How are you?
Hello, Megan. Hello, Ty. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Great to have you join us. And, I have to say, too, the picture that you had donated to the Gypsy Nurse site, which is on our homepage, which is kind of you guys hanging on a ledge. I mean, that I don't know if that's part of the minimalist lifestyle, but if it is, I definitely know it's not for me. I don't like heights. So that is a spectacular picture, though. It really is. We've gotten lots of comments, and literally, hundreds of thousands of people have seen that over the past few months by virtue of visiting the gypsynurse.com website. So thank you for donating that. And I'm glad you made it off that ledge, because that's a little bit of a scary picture.
Washington State. If anybody wants the most beautiful assignment, Washington State, that's where we took the picture at Mount Rainier. So.
Yep. Very cool. Well, I was wondering if we could start out, maybe just tell us a little bit about your travel nursing journey. Rachel mentioned that you guys obviously travel together and you guys are on assignment. Could you tell us a little bit about, just to kind of put things into perspective, your travel nursing journey, how long you guys have been travel nursing, the different, maybe generally speaking, some of the different places you've been on assignment. Would love to hear a little bit more about your travel nursing background and your specialties.
Yes. So we've been traveling together for a little over 2 years now. And we specialize in PCU. We've done cardiac, a little bit of everything. More COVID units this past year with everything going on. A lot of the PCUs turned into COVID units, which that's been a wild ride. But hopefully we're coming to the end of that here shortly.
Yeah.
But we all hope so.
Oh yeah. And for the first year?
Yeah,
I think it was
the first year we did not have our van. So we just we bought the van about 8 months into doing travel nursing together, and We'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, so we did it for about a year without, and just doing apartments and Airbnbs and furnish finders. And then we moved into our van January of last year. So January 2020 is when we first moved into that. And that's when we really downsized and started living with less.
Yeah. So that's a great way to kind of start this conversation. Obviously, the minimalist lifestyle for travel nurses. What made you, Megan, you say kind of downsizing? What made you take what I would consider, but my perspective is different, kind of this non-traditional travel nurse lifestyle, although it definitely is getting more popular. But I am not a travel nurse myself, but having been around it for about 14 years, the traditional travel nursing route would be, you're working with your agency, or you're getting a stipend, you're finding an apartment on your own. You want to, one of the phrases that I've heard over the years has been kind of, make it your own little slice of home, your home away from home. So people are kind of gathering things and trying to bring things into their apartment or the house they're renting to make it more like their own and make it more homey. This is really the opposite of that, isn't it? Is kind of clearing out the clutter, just living for what you need. How did you guys make that decision? And was it a mutual decision, or was it you both just kind of came at that independently but came together on it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us was we felt like all of our stuff, like our first assignment, we packed up everything and we filled 2 cars to the brim. So all of that packing, and it was that thing, we were going to make like our new place very homey and fill it with all of the comforts of home. And so we spent a lot of time packing, moving, unpacking, and then that was just more like, it was just more time consuming. And then you have to find a place that's going to fit all of your stuff. So we learned that while we were on assignment, we were more focused on like seeing the area and exploring and spending more time outdoors. So all of that was really taking up time and essentially like freedom that we could have with our time doing things that we actually enjoyed. So that was one of the biggest reasons that we actually decided to do van life. And it had been something that I had wanted to do for years. So I kind of made a list of the pros and cons and showed it to Ty, and we sat down and talked about it and decided to move forward with the idea. But yeah, it was really just more of having that extra time of, living for the moment versus spending that extra time packing and moving. So
she's downplaying it. It's always been her dream.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar in my household. I'm used to that. So Ty, did it take some convincing for you? Sounds like a list was made, it was presented to you, and were you a little shaky on it and then said, let's go for it? Or how did that dynamic work?
So it started off with her subtly showing me pictures of people's vans that they had converted. And I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. And then, as we started going through our travel assignments, I always tell people the most stressful part of travel nursing was finding the living arrangements and packing all your stuff every 3 months and moving somewhere new. So she kind of, then not so subtly was showing me more pictures and was like, I think this is something we should do. And the more, I started thinking about it, and the more she convinced me, it sounded better and better. And we were actually on assignment in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And she, I guess, was looking up vans that were for sale. There was a dealership nearby that had one that she wanted, and she showed me, and she was like, let's just go take a look at it. I said, okay. And then we drove home with a van that day. So,
wow. Megan, it sounds like you should have, if nursing wasn't your calling, sales might have been, or something like that, right? I mean,
persistence is key.
So so in terms of, the van and van life, as we mentioned, we did have a travel nurse on last night, Catherine Hall, who is, she and her husband are traveling around and going on assignment using a big RV. So tell me about the difference between that, because she subscribes to the minimalist lifestyle as well. Tell tell me the difference between that and what you guys are doing relative to the van. Like, is everything in the van? Are you guys, I mean, how does that work? Because obviously that's, I assume, a much smaller, storage and living space. So how does that work?
Yeah. So obviously the fifth wheels are built out with some of the ones I've seen have all the bells and whistles, shower, TV, couch, stuff like that. What we got was bare bones, and we built it out ourselves. So we really had to sit down and really think about, what is it that we're going to need? We knew that we weren't going to be able to have everything.
Right.
So we just kind of made a list of the most important things, and kind of just incorporated all that and thought about, okay, well, what are we not adding that we're, going to need, but we can work around, like a shower, for example. We knew we weren't going to be able to build a shower in our van. So we found out that Planet Fitness, the gold membership, for $20 a month, I think it is, you can go in there anytime you want and shower in their gym shower. So there was always a way around stuff that we couldn't build in there, but yeah, it's a much smaller space, so we had to be very selective. Sure. And it was definitely a trial and error process when we first hit the road. With I think when we came back home after the first assignment, we were like, all right, we still need to downgrade more and get rid of some more stuff. So
wow. So give me an idea of kind of your journey relative to going on assignment. So, you accept an assignment, is your first step essentially, seeing, do you go to campgrounds or work around campgrounds in terms of where you can put the van? Do you look for, Planet Fitness or other gyms you might have memberships with to do that? I mean, what is kind of the planning process? Because there still needs to be some planning, right? You can't just get up and go. You have to work that. How does that work?
So I think with the van, it's not as intense, I think, from what we've spoken to people who live in an RV, because we can really just pick up and go. We don't have to like set stuff up or there's not a lot of preparation. So we like that about the van, is you can just kind of pick up and go. We don't usually stay at campgrounds, but we usually, with assignments, we look for places that aren't in very large cities. We don't like staying in bigger cities, just a lot of times for safety risk with having all of our items in the van. But yeah, we'll usually look at the hospital and see if they have parking places that are not only parking garages, because we can't fit in there. So with van life, it's more of just those little things of like finding a place to park, looking for safe areas. We like to make sure there's like free land nearby, national forest or BLM land that we could stay on or camp near. So we kind of look for places that have more land and more adventure areas and places to roam. So yeah, whenever we're ready, we just can pick up and go. We've got everything we need in there. And
we actually use some apps that are very, very helpful with the areas to stay. One is iOverlander, and it'll actually show you like free spots to stay for vans, which is awesome. The van life community's gotten pretty big, so that's helpful. And then it'll also show you like areas in national forest or BLM land, and people, it lets them put reviews, so you can kind of get a glimpse of, is this somewhere I kind of want to stay or stay away from? Yeah. So those are really helpful.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine, you bring up an interesting point when we talk about assignments. Obviously, the market is very strong for travel nursing right now. Unfortunately, in large part due to the pandemic, there is a tremendous need for travel nurses. As you have had assignments put in front of you, and given the van life, what do you look for in an assignment? In other words, some people, they like to go to a larger city, let's say a San Francisco or an LA or New York or Chicago or Miami. and they're going for the weather. They're going for, the city life. They like to, we talked to a nurse the other day. One of her favorite assignments was Miami. She just loved the nightlife. She loved the food. She loved the restaurants. How do you guys take those things into consideration? Are you more the other way, where you're looking at national parks and natural sites and nature and hikes and those sorts of things? Is that kind of your focus?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yes. And that's the beauty of travel nursing, is that based off of what your interests are and what you love to do with your free time, there's kind of something for everybody. So a lot of our assignments, we did an assignment in Phoenix, Arizona. So we've done in bigger cities, but we always make sure that there's a lot of like places to roam around there, or areas where we can get out, national parks in the area, state parks that we could go to and explore on our days off. So that's kind of our what we would look for with an assignment.
Okay. Well, we've got a couple of questions here, a comment and a question from Kimberly. Kimberly states, I traveled with my best friend for about 5 years, but one of us took housing and one of us took the stipend, and we banked enough money to go on vacation every 6 months or so. So it's, and I don't know, how does money factor into it? Have you guys found that based on this van life and more of a minimalist lifestyle that you are able to save more money or take that money and do fun things? How do the finances work out in this lifestyle component?
Yeah. So a big portion of it too is just not having to, like when we're traveling to and from assignment, we save a lot of money on renting hotels, because a lot of times we travel cross country. Our family's on the East Coast, and then we take assignments mainly on the West Coast. So before, we were having to rent hotels when we were traveling out. So got a big cost saving there. Finding so that you're with tax compliance, finding a spot that you can still like rent while you're staying at a campground or something is much cheaper than taking the stipend and paying for a furnished apartment somewhere. And then a lot of money that we save too is on food, eating out. So we've got our kitchen with us anywhere we go. So you really don't have an excuse to be like, oh, I'm going to pick up food on the way home from work. You're always cooking. And so I think just when we're not having to drive places or rent as many Airbnbs on our days off, like before we would go adventuring, we would have to rent either a campsite or we would have to pay for a hotel or something. So really, it's even during the week on our days off, we save a lot more money because we have everything we need with us at all times.
I was going to ask you about food, and can you give some specifics in terms of what food storage do you have available in the van? What can you cook? What do you cook with? I mean, it's kind of something you take for granted, but if you're renting an apartment or something has kitchen facilities, no big deal. But I can't imagine. Help me understand how you guys do it, because I can't even think of how you guys do it.
So we have a refrigerator in the van, and it runs off of our
it's a 12-volt fridge.
12-volt fridge
and freezer. So it's a smaller freezer than what you would usually have.
More like a college dorm room or something, or
exactly. Okay. Yeah. So we have that, but a lot of our stuff, we also have like some storage space, like a little mini pantry. It's rare that we go out to eat. So we've got a stovetop that we cook on. We don't have an oven, but we've adjusted in pretty much everything we need to do. We can cook on our little stovetop, and then we do have a refrigerator and freezer for storage for that too. So usually we'll go buy groceries like once a week, and it'll last us the entire week.
That was going to be my next question. Would you mind sharing? Because like I said, I find this part fascinating. I like to eat, so I really want to get a better understanding. But would you mind sharing some of the things you guys would do for dinners and those sort? I know lunches you're probably at work, so that's a little bit different. Breakfast may be a grab and go, but what do you guys tend to do for dinners? I'm just very curious about that.
So she does a lot of the cooking. I'm not even gonna lie. She does 98% of it, but
yeah, I mean, we do all of our meal prepping for work just to make it easier. So it's basically just everything that we would do when we were living in an apartment. We'll cook like burrito bowls to make for the week's worth of work. I mean, just anything. We'll cook outside too on the fire sometimes, and we'll grill, but yeah, salads, big salad bowls. So it's just really everything we would do when we were just living in a normal home.
So no changes there.
Yeah.
We thought
Okay.
it would limit us with the burner stove, but really it has not.
Mhm.
I mean, you can pretty much cook anything you would at home on the burner stove.
Mhm.
So
Well, we had earlier in the week, I don't know if you guys had seen it, but we had Lorraine Wheeler, who's a travel nurse, and she did some cooking tips, but it was really cooking tips for travel nurses in more of a traditional environment. She was on Chopped earlier in the year. They did a first responder session, and she won. So we were joking last night. This might be a great thing for you guys too. Is combine the two of you and have van life cooking or something. Do a special thing this summer on that. That might be fun to do.
Yeah.
We got a couple of other questions that have come in. This is a little bit more work related. Do you guys ask to have the same schedule when you're on assignment? Do you have the ability to do that, and how does that work out?
Mm-hmm.
yes, you want to take this one or me?
Sure. Yeah, we usually, whenever we do the initial interview with the manager, we let them know that we travel together. And they're usually pretty open they know that if you're traveling together, you're probably going to want the same schedule. So far we've gotten really lucky. People have been really receptive. Usually if they need 2 nurses on a unit, then there's more holes. So they have the ability to put us together on the same units and same schedule. But yeah, it's worked out really well so far. So usually we're able to work our 3 shifts together and have the same days. And then we have the 4 days off to get out and explore more. So
yeah, just pretty upfront with them from the beginning that,
Mhm.
hey, this is what we want. But, with anything else, we're pretty flexible and we let them know that,
Yeah,
outright.
we aren't picky on what days we work or having a certain amount of days in a row. We just say wherever you can put us, and that way they usually have at least 2 holes on one day where they're able to put us together.
Well, that certainly makes life a lot easier then too, I would assume. And if part of it is to be able to enjoy each other's company and do fun things, to have, schedules that match up well is probably a great thing. We have a question from Daniel. Do you guys drive the van to work? And do you only take positions where both of you work at the same place, which was kind of similar to the other question, which I think you've kind of answered. But do you guys actually drive the van to work, or do you leave it there and then take some other form of transportation to work?
No, we do take the van to work, and that might be another thing that would be a little bit different than if you had an RV or something too. So the van, we drive it everywhere we go. We usually will take another vehicle. Ty does have a 4-wheel drive vehicle if we ever want to do anything off-road, but we put it in a storage unit. So the van is our primary vehicle, unless we always take an extra vehicle just in case of
Emergency.
mechanical issues or emergencies.
Which has happened.
I was going to say, yeah, it's not to dwell on the negative, but I mean, obviously, if it's not only your transportation, but also where you're living, have you had any mishaps? We were talking to Catherine last night, and because she has a very large vehicle, they have had some problems. And she said, with she does carry special insurance that helps, but she said it's scary because that's not only how you're getting places, but that's where you're living. And particularly with a larger vehicle, you're going down some of these remote facilities, you're going down very narrow roads. It's late at night. She said at times, one of the things is it can get a little bit scary. So yeah, tell me, can you give us an idea of any mishaps and how you guys were able to handle those? Did you use AAA, or what do you guys do?
Well, we've got a story that happened recently when we were in Washington. We were coming back down a dirt road, and there was still some snow on the ground, and we basically slid off into a little ditch and got stuck.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, she carries AAA, which we had to use that day, and it definitely saved our butts that day.
Yeah. If you're a traveler, just AAA is wonderful to have just in general. But yeah, we because we take the van off-road. That's one of the reasons that we chose a van over a bigger vehicle like a bus or an RV, was just so we could go down. We could go a little bit more off-grid with it. And so yeah, that has gotten us into a couple of situations where we've always keep some like slider tracks in case we needed to get out of snow, tow rope and things like that. So just in case, we keep some extra extra emergency items in our van, shovels if you needed to dig yourself out of the dirt or snow. So,
but the van does negotiate the difficult terrains pretty well, I gotta say.
Yeah, so we haven't had any mechanical issues with the van. Before, when we would each drive separate cars, Ty's vehicle actually was totaled in New Mexico. So because
goodness.
a vehicle, we didn't have to worry about renting something or panicking on how we could get to work. So that's one of the reasons that we always take 2 cars. Even though we really could probably get by with just one, we always just want to make sure that we have a way to get to work just in case we had an emergency situation.
Okay. Well, glad to hear that even with those mishaps, sounds like everybody was okay. Nobody was hurt, but it was some scary stuff. So
yeah,
glad to hear everybody was okay. We have some other questions. They're coming in fast and furious here. Kathy asks, have you had any trouble with people bothering your van because they don't want you parked in their area? It's an interesting question. Have you had anybody upset with you or said, you've been here too long, or, you're too close to my area? What any experiences there?
Yes.
well,
I like the way you said that, Ty.
there's only one, and it was at the hospital.
Yeah, so we park in the hospital parking lot sometimes, while on assignment. We feel safe there. We know that there's security monitoring the parking lot, which ended up working against us this one particular occasion. We were actually, it was like 11 o'clock. We were already sleeping and everything, and working the next morning, and 2 security guys from the hospital just started banging on the windows and stuff, and woke us up and I won't say interrogated, but questioned us pretty hard on, what we're doing here. I told them, we work on this floor, and then they were like, "Oh, well, you probably need to get a sticker." But
Okay.
that was pretty much the end of it, and they were cool with us afterwards. But yeah, that's really been the only.
Yeah, and usually we'll just let them know. We'll touch base with security and let them know. And usually they're very okay with it because you're working there. We only stay there on like the nights before we work if we do stay there. But otherwise, we try to be respectful. There have been a couple times where we'll pull up where there's on-street parking in neighborhoods. We never stay in one place more than once. We pull in late at night, and then we leave early in the morning before people get up. We don't. If there's ever a time like that when we're passing through and we do park on a street in a neighborhood, then it's always like we pull in after dark and leave very early in the morning because we want to be respectful of people's space and that sort of thing. But usually we'll stay on free land somewhere like in the national forest or like at a state park somewhere. So we try and be as respectful as possible.
Here's a great question. Anna asks, what state do you file taxes in?
South Carolina.
You do?
Yep,
okay.
Which is where we are now.
That is your home state. Okay.
We have a permanent address here in South Carolina. So that's where we file taxes.
Okay. Rachel asks, do you have any other items in storage, or do you only have what fits in the van?
So we do have some items in storage, and we're blessed to have parents that allow us to store some of our stuff in the van. But it's mainly, keepsakes, stuff that have a lot of meaning to us. And then just our clothes. Like we just went through the whole process of switching out all our winter stuff for summer stuff. But that's really it as far as storage.
Yeah, it's maybe like 4 boxes between the 2 of us, no furniture or anything like that. So very, very few extra things that we keep.
Everything else fits in the van.
Was it so relative to that? This is one of the earlier questions. As you guys literally embarked on this journey, towards the van living and more of a minimalist lifestyle, was it hard to let go of things? I'm assuming some things were donated or thrown out or whatever that you guys had accumulated over the years in your lives. Did you find that hard, or was it empowering and freeing? I mean, a lot of people feel like, it's kind of that the TV show in which they talk about organization and keeping something. It either brings you joy or it doesn't bring you joy, and you keep it or remove it. Did you guys go through that process, and was it difficult to let go?
We did go through that process, and I didn't find it really hard to let go. I felt pretty good about it. It was like, all right, we're getting rid of all this stuff that we really don't need or use. It was, I would say empowering.
Yeah, I think after, like, when you do travel nursing assignments, you kind of learn, like I said, the first time we did one, we just felt like we were carrying around so much extra stuff. So to be able to, like, one of the things that we would do was say, have we used this in the past week, or have we used this in the past month? And if we hadn't, we were like, okay, well, what makes us think that we're going to use it in the next month? We're only on assignment for 3 months. So are you really going to need it? And if not, you're able to afford to buy a new, something else. If you end up needing it down the road, you can always get it again. Or, we like using, like, if we end up not taking something with us, you can always go to like secondhand gear stores or stuff like that you can always get it if you need it again. So we just always think about, have we used it? Is it something that brings value to our lives? And, we just kind of looked at it that way, and it was easier to really put it into perspective if it was more of a want or a need.
Do you find that not having a lot of things, particularly when you're road, kind of in a way unclutters the mind as well? You're not distracted by fixing things or rearranging things or worrying about where this is, or that is. It's just like, hey, we've got work. Here's what we have in the van, essentially, and let's just go out and do fun things. I don't have to worry about any other junk.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. And I know when we didn't have the van, and we were bringing everything, like, there's been a couple of situations where stuff was left behind because, we had so much stuff and we're decorating and putting stuff here and there, and, stuff was left behind. So not having, that stress of leaving stuff behind, or, did we get everything? It's awesome.
Yeah. And I think too, even on our days off, we aren't thinking as much on, we've got to get, if we go on a trip on our days off, then we aren't worrying about, like, we've got to hurry back home and, get our stuff together. Like, everything's just there. We've got everything we need. And whether you're living in a van or not, if you just have less, then you're able to really, like, it makes you really appreciate what you do have, I think. And just to, it's a simpler kind of living. So you're more grateful for what you have. You're not always worrying about having to go and get the next best thing, which is, so it's time consuming. You're doing the research on finding something new and going out and shopping for it. So that's time that we could be out living. So that's kind of what we focus on more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine too, not to expand the conversation too much, but when we're talking now about things like climate change and the environment, the aspect of, only having what you need. You don't need 20 pairs of sneakers. All of these things that take up resources and, pollute the environment. I would imagine too, some of the minimalist lifestyle would be about that respect for the environment, getting close to the environment, and not, using up more than what you need as a person.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Definitely lessening the carbon footprint.
Yeah, and,
absolutely.
When even talking about clothes, I will say one of the things that we used to pack everything. I had this shoe box that I would take with us on assignment. I was like, I'm going to wear all of these. And so I would say, like, one tip that I would suggest is for travel nurses, like, think about what activity that you do the most, or how you spend your time, because I would take heels. I never wore them. We are always hiking or out doing something. So think about maybe like what activities you do the most. And you really only need I take maybe 2 pairs of jeans and 2 dresses, because we aren't going out and, like, doing as much of that stuff, versus we take a lot of more hiking clothes, hiking boots and that sort of thing. So just kind of focusing on, like, what pertains to your lifestyle, and not thinking that you need to fit a whole closet with you for 3 months of an assignment.
Well, that is a great segue into the next question, which is what items have made the minimalist lifestyle easier? So are there certain go-to things that if you were to advise people that are looking at this sort of lifestyle to say, hey, you got to have at least these two things? What are some of the things that make it easier? And you say, if you're going to go this route, make sure you have these things in your repertoire.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that comes to mind immediately is our packing cubes that we use to store our clothes in. It pretty much condenses your stack of clothes down to a manageable size, so you could store it away to take up, the least amount of room possible, which is awesome in a van and necessary, because every inch matters in a van. But that's one thing that comes to my mind. I know we use collapsible everything.
Like anything that'll fold up. Like we have like a foldable camping chairs and a foldable table. Even our like our Tupperware that we use to meal prep, it collapses down into like something that's like this small.
Wow.
Using it. So anything that you can, even like collapsible colanders, all of that, if it's collapsible, we have it. So just making use out of every bit of space that you have, and then like when it's not in use is really helpful too. So
even simple things like we used to carry around these big camping lights, for if we were eating outside or hanging out outside the van. And then we found Lucy lights, which I don't know if you're familiar with that product, but it's a solar. It looks like a little hockey puck. It's about that big, but it's solar. And it's just a string of lights that unwind from the hockey puck.
Okay.
And you can hang them up. And I mean, they put off a decent amount of light. So we got rid of our lanterns and just use that now for outside. But they're great and take up minimal space. So stuff like that.
Not to give props for stores or retailers or anything, but it's okay. They're not sponsoring us, so it's all right. What are there any go-to stores that you would say if you want to pick up some items relative to van living and a minimalist life, you would recommend, like REI or are there any stores you would suggest or online retailers you suggest that people take a look at?
Absolutely. REI is a big one.
Okay.
We've made quite a few shopping trips there through our adventures. Amazon, we find a lot of our stuff on Amazon. And then, like she said earlier, secondhand stores are great. In the cities we've been to, especially in Washington, they were everywhere. And they have some really decent gear, like almost brand new stuff, at a fraction of a cost for what it would be brand new. So those are big. We've used those quite a few times.
Okay. Good information. And we have some very specific travel nursing information for you. So what Anna asks, what amount of liability insurance do you recommend? And I would suppose that's really more towards, just travel nursing in general, but just any viewpoints on that as travel nurses, what amount of liability insurance do you recommend?
We carry just the minimal amount. I mean, thank God we haven't had to use it yet. I mean, I guess it really just depends on how you feel. I would say probably just go with your gut and go with what you feel you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Daniel asks, are you two full-timers, or are you just out on assignments and then go back to South Carolina between gigs? And about how many gigs do you do a year?
Yeah, we do live in it full time. So right now, as you can see, we're in Ty's parents' house just because the internet reception is much better in here. Yeah, usually we even like when we're at my parents' house, we'll just park the van there. So yeah, we just feel more comfortable in it. It's our space. It's where we consider home. So even if we have more room, we usually will choose to stay in the van just because we have everything that we need in there. But yeah, so we do full time, and I'd say we do last year we did 3. So usually about 3. We'll usually 3 to sometimes we'll extend an extra month. We usually don't do more than that because we like always going somewhere new. But yeah, usually we'll do about 3 assignments a year and 3 or 4, and then we'll try and take about a month or so off in between.
Okay. And those assignments usually 13-week assignments?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
The
Okay.
13 weeks are usually right around 3 months. And then
Yeah.
if you really like the hospital or the area, we'll extend maybe just a month more.
Okay. Let me see if there's any other questions that have come in. I think we have caught up to many of them. One of the things I'd like to personally get into is obviously with what you guys are doing, and in particular your interest in the outdoors and hiking and being active. Tell me a little bit about some of the fun things that you guys have done. Again, there's that great picture of you guys on the mountain on our homepage, but tell me about what, having this sort of lifestyle and this flexibility, what has it enabled you to do in terms of fun things? Some great hikes, some great, national parks that you may have seen, some interesting natural features. I'd love to hear a bit more about what you guys do for fun and some of the neat things that you've seen.
Yeah. So, hiking is a big interest and hobby of ours. And the van makes it really, really awesome because we can just pull up to a place, even, like the night before, if we have a planned hike, and just sometimes we've even stayed at the trailhead so we could get an early start. And that's really been the main thing is hiking. We really we're trying to plan a trip to the Outer Banks. The first maiden voyage of the van to the Outer Banks. Because I think it'll be really cool living in the van and exploring there. We can stick the surfboards on top and the fishing rods in the van and just kind of cruise all the way down the Outer Banks and explore. So we're looking forward to that. But
yeah, I think most of the stuff we do, like, you think like you live in a van. So, I mean, people think about that and they're like, how do you spend that much time like in that small space together? And we're not, like, we live outside, so it's really nice. Like at night, we'll make a campfire, we'll sit in our chairs outside. But yeah, I mean, you're living more outdoors. So for us, where we value spending time outside and hiking and surfing and doing yoga, all the activities that we enjoy are, I mean, it's perfect for anybody that lives an outside lifestyle, because you're always with camping, you can set everything out. Like Ty said, you can, if you're staying in national parks, we will usually find BLM land or free land right outside of the national park so that we can get an early start, but you're spending less time, like if you're for a certain location that you're trying to get to, less time driving to a hike. If it's 2.5 hours away from where your apartment is on assignment, when we used to would travel, it would take a couple hours each day to get to where we needed to go. And now we're able to just stay there the night before, get an early start, see what we want to see, and kind of go from there. So it's really given us a lot more time to do what we enjoy.
Now, what about if the weather's not good? Because I know, no matter where you are, it's either going to be raining or cold. Are you the type of couple, you just still get out there and do it, just throw the rain jackets on and go? Or do you take advantage of some of those days just to sit and read your favorite book or just catch up on sleep given your busy schedules? How do you work bad weather?
We actually, so we just did an assignment this past winter in Washington State. So you think Washington State in the winter, it does get pretty rainy a lot. It can be pretty gloomy. So it actually helped us to kind of slow down a little bit, which was nice. On those rainy days, we would sometimes still go out and go for a hike and enjoy, even in the bad weather. But we did spend some days where we were just in the van and would turn on our little twinkle lights and relax. And like you said, read a book, just hang out. So yeah, we did spend a couple of days, and it's still, we didn't get bothered by the small space or feel confined or anything like that. So yeah, it wasn't bad.
One of the things that, although I haven't done much of it over the past year, like everybody else, but one of the things I like to do when I travel, whether it's for work or whether it is just for pleasure, I do like to sample the local food. So I like to, sample local food. I like to sample local craft beers and those sorts of things. When you do decide to venture into more of the populated areas and so forth, do you do anything like that? Do you do any craft breweries or any wineries or anything like that?
We do like to try the food. So wherever we are, we definitely go and just like if there's any local cuisine, everywhere has really good food. A lot of the southwestern states, when we were in New Mexico and Arizona, we ate out a lot when we were there. So we do definitely enjoy like trying, especially if there's certain cultures or cuisines in the area that's specific to that location. Then we definitely do try all the food while we're in town.
Yeah, I would imagine at some point you're saying, boy, a really good local meal sounds great, or let's change the scenery a little bit for tonight. So
definitely, yeah, we do that a lot.
I always joke with her because we'll be talking about places we've been, and it's like, oh yeah, remember Montana? And she says, oh yeah, that place with the cheese fries, or that place with the really good burritos.
Yeah, we have our food is whenever we think about states, I'm like, yeah, we ate at that really good restaurant, or we went to that really good coffee shop. So yeah, you have your favorites in each state that you go to for sure.
Good food and drink really sears itself into the memory. That's for sure. I know it does for me.
Absolutely.
All right, we got a couple of other questions here. Here's one. This is something that is a great question. Never really would have thought of this. With ordering from Amazon, or I would assume any other online delivery service, how do you get delivery? Do you use the hospital address?
So we actually do a PO box. So we did this before. We lived in the van too. So we'll get a PO box for a couple of months nearby, and usually like the closest post office to the hospital, so that's in the area. We can just run by after work and get it from the PO box. But if you do order from Amazon on assignment, they have Amazon lockers, and they're usually at any like gas station, grocery stores. So when you go and check out and your shipping information, you can just say nearest Amazon locker, and that way you can pick it up if it's something that's too large to fit in your PO box, or you just don't want to have to deal with the PO box. You can get packages anywhere that way.
Krista asks, has there been anything that has not been as great as expected related to van living? So you've mentioned, it seems like the benefits far outweigh any of the weaknesses for those that would like to try it. But what are some things that perhaps haven't worked out as well as you would have liked, and you're kind of working through?
Drive-throughs.
Yeah, with your drive-throughs, we're like 10 feet, so you do have a clearance. I think our biggest challenge was definitely so we started van life in January 2020, and we were like, it's going to be great. We're going to do all this stuff. Well, then the pandemic happened, and we shower at Planet Fitness, so all the gyms closed down. So I think that was probably our most difficult time. Was we had just started this, and we're in that like honeymoon van life phase, and then we had to kind of like figure out like, what do we do? So then we, you pivot and you figure out how to do it next. So we would be able to shower at the hospital. We checked with them, and they showed us where the showers were in the OR. So we were able to actually like shower there. And, but yeah, I think it's little things that you don't think about. And,
it's the unexpected, but
yeah,
I mean, we assess and adapt, and even with the little things that go wrong, I think it makes us stronger and appreciate things more. So
yeah, I think I can be very type A sometimes, and so living in a van, you just have to be really flexible. It kind of teaches you that. So when something goes wrong, or you have a little hiccup, like when we ran off the road, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is everything ruined? Because your whole home is in there. So you have to really just learn to roll with the punches. You don't really have another option when your home is your vehicle and everything you have is there. So it teaches you to be very adaptable.
Last question from me. When you go to a facility and you meet either staff nurses or other travel nurses for that matter, and they say, where are you staying, or whatever, and you tell them about what you're doing, what's the reaction you get? Do they say, oh wow, that's different, I'd like to try that? Or are they like, how could you possibly do that? I could never imagine myself. What kind of reaction do you get?
Oh, first reaction usually when we say we live in a van is, oh.
Are you okay?
And then we show them pictures and they're like, oh.
Like,
okay.
that's
All right. Is there anything I can do to help? I'm sorry to hear that. Right? Yeah.
no, people have been like, you need to stay with us, but we
Oh my goodness.
and they can't believe that that's like they think it's just an empty shell, I think at first. But some people are very familiar with van life and they're like all about it. But yeah, you do have a couple of people that
I
don't
guess think we sleep on the floor in the van with sleeping bags.
Oh,
yeah.
that has to be Megan and Ty. That has to be the line of the conference so far. I'm sorry to hear that. You guys okay? You got to stay with me. Oh my goodness. No, this is a choice.
Yeah. At first, our first assignment, I was like, what do I tell people? Like, because I would just say, like, they were like, where do you stay? And I'm like, oh, and I'll just name off the city. And now I'm like, oh, we live in this van. You get more, I guess, proud of it eventually. But yeah, at first I was like, how do I tell them this without them thinking that we're crazy? But you get more comfortable with the crazy after a while, I guess.
Oh, that is great. Well, you've made me laugh. I'm not going to forget that line for a while. That's fantastic. Well, I think on that note, we'll bring in Rachel and Kevin as we wrap up here. And Megan and Ty, I can't thank you enough. I mean, it's been an hour, and that hour literally has flown by. We've had some great questions. You guys have been awesome. You've been so forthcoming and so giving with regard to your experience. And I think for anybody that wanted to learn more about what minimalist living is, what's it like to live in the van, and so forth, I think you've provided a ton of great information. So number one, thank you for sharing your time and your experiences with our travel nurse community. Number two, thank you for your ongoing support of the Gypsy Nurse. You've been with us for a while. You've provided some great content. You've been so giving. You've provided some great pictures. You have been Gypsy Nurse mentors as part of our mentor family. So thank you for that. And then third, I do want to thank you for what you do. I know that travel nursing isn't easy. And as Kevin was saying earlier, it has been, as we all know, really, really difficult time for people in the healthcare community. We're all hoping that it ends hopefully relatively soon. I think we have a little ways to go, but I think things are getting better. Hopefully we can all get back to some sense of normalcy over the next few months. But thank you guys for what you do as nurses, and thank you for spending some time with us today. That was fabulous. I really enjoyed that, and I gotta you have the line of the conference there, Megan. So thank you for bringing that up. So Rachel, we're back, and Kevin, we're back with you guys, and wasn't that fantastic?
Yes,
Oh, so
thank
cool.
you guys.
So cool. That was what a story, and so kind of inspiring a little bit too, to be honest with you.
I know the past 2 days, like between this one and the RV living, I'm like, do I throw everything away? Do I go get a van? Like, what do I do? I mean, I work remote,
Right.
so I can go anywhere. So I'm like, do I find a travel nurse friend and go live with them? I don't know.
Yeah,
For sure.
That was great, and I just, that line will stay with me for a long time. Where are you staying? I'm staying in the van. Oh, you okay? That is really great. But they just seem like such nice people. They've been so great to the Gypsy nurse community, and what a fun couple. So that was a wonderful session. So Kevin, this is just an example. We are bringing a lot of different pieces of advice and information from people across all spectrums of travel nursing, whether it's people from inside staffing, from people that are sharing expertise in other areas, to nurses who are approaching their assignments in what is somewhat of a non-traditional non-traditional manner. So this has been a fun week so far, and thank you and Nurses 24/7 for sponsoring the events today. We've got one more event tonight, right, Rachel? At I believe 6:30 Eastern time.
Yep. Another Gypsy nurse mentor. So that one will be exciting. Yeah. So Kevin, if you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit more about Nurses 24/7, what you guys are all about, we'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. So definitely so proud to introduce Nurses 24/7 today. And really, what a unique time to be doing recruiting and staffing during a worldwide pandemic. And just like many agencies, you're forced to pick up your desk and go build somewhat of a home office, and have to really go, staff for these hospitals who are dealing with something that is so unprecedented. And, early on, our CEO, Chris Dowling, would tell us that this is our new mission. It's our mission to really go help these hospitals and facilities be staffed and be fighting this pandemic with our frontline workers. And to say that our team here at Nurses 24/7 really took that and ran with it would be an understatement. Our recruiters would be recruiting sometimes till 10 o'clock at night and sometimes on a weekend just to really help staff our hospitals, and to be able to introduce us today and kind of tell you about some cool, unique features that we offer here at Nurses 24/7 is, we're thankful to you, Steve and Rachel, to allow us to do that. We are a 24/7, 365 when it comes to, really supporting our clinicians, and we offer that clinical support so we can open those lines of communication to our nurses where, if it's an issue they're having at a specific time of a shift, that we have clinical support for them 24/7, 365. And we want them to feel that we're really out there with them. Something really unique that our traveling nurses enjoy, and it's, we understand the work that they put in, and, we want to make sure that they're financially comfortable. And, that normal bi-weekly pay that, a lot of agencies, pay their nurses, we do weekly pay. And it's something that we do just because we want our nurses to feel comfortable when they're out there working the amount of hours that they're working. We offer day one comprehensive benefits to all of our nurses. And we offer flexible contracts. And as we know in this industry, standard contracts are 13 weeks. We're flexible. We want to offer flexible contracts because we understand that all travelers have different schedules and different desires, kind of like our presenters today. And, if we could, offer an 8 to 10 week, flexible contract, if nurses kind of want to pick up that van life, that's kind of, pretty cool that we can offer something like that. And another unique thing we do is we offer travel comp for part-time nurses. So travelers out there who want to work on a part-time basis, depending on their unique situation, we offer travel comp. And a lot of our travelers love that because everyone's schedule is different and everyone has different lifestyles and different things that go on in their lives. And to be able to kind of offer them that on a part-time basis is pretty unique. And we really take a unique approach to onboarding. Our HR team here at Nurses 24/7 is fantastic. We have about 4 of them right now, and their goal is to really make the onboarding process seamless for our nurses. Because as we know, it could be strenuous, and our nurses really want to get out into the field and work if they're coming off of a contract and wanting to start a new one. So our HR team works with them hand in hand the entire way to make that seamless. And, lastly, our business was built on referrals. Our CEO, Chris Dowling, our COO, Kevin Malecki, who are fantastic. I mean, they've been in this field for about 20 years and built this business from the ground up. And they remind us daily that this business was built on referrals. And because of that, we really do offer aggressive and unlimited referral bonuses to our nurses. And I don't use the word unlimited lightly. It really is unlimited because that's what we were built, and we appreciate that, and we want to make sure that we give that benefit back to our traveling nurses. And lastly, our jobs, you can find all of our jobs on nurses247.com. But our recruiting team here is also fantastic. And if there isn't a job on our website or something that we post on some of our social media aspects, our recruiters are taught and they really will find the perfect assignment for a traveler. And if it's not something you see on our website or another website, we really will find the perfect opportunity for you. And it's because of the relationships we've also built with our hospitals and clients that we have the ability to do that. So we do think we're very unique. And again, thank you, Steve, and thank you, Rachel. Being a member of the Gypsy Nurse right now is so cool for us. And I think the thing for us is, really being part of this interactive community. And that's why we did it, to kind of hear some of the stories from Ty and Megan and to really be on this mission with our frontline workers and trying to make life really easy for our travelers, and just knowing the work that they put in, especially, during this pandemic. And again, we can't thank them enough, right? So whatever we can do as an agency to make life easier for them that's our goal and that's our mission here. So again, really unique and really cool story. And I'm excited for 6:30. It's a little bit of a different of a session. but definitely excited to hear how, you know, we can transition after bedside and just to continue to learn more and educate ourselves.
Well, Kevin, thank you very much for the overview. And again, we appreciate you and Nurses 24/7, not only for sponsoring today's session with Megan and Ty, but also to just being a sponsor of the gypsynurse.com. So welcome. We're happy to have you, on board, and we appreciate what you guys do. I'll leave you with this. There's a quick prop for Nurses 24/7. Anna says Nurses 24/7, a shout out. Been with them since September of 2019. So there's somebody that's very happy working with you guys. Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
That joined today. So it's a great way to end. So Kevin, thank you again. Thank you, Nurses 24/7. Rachel, another great session. Thank you for putting this together. And I will see you at 6:30 Eastern time.
Yes, see you all at 6:30.